start.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kristof Haavic. I taught at AAUP for many years, and I used to go to Jerusalem almost every month. About once a month, I would go there. And I want to tell you about some of the things I did and saw there because it was always very interesting. When I arrived in Jerusalem, I would be at the bus station, which is near the Damascus Gate. So I would enter Jerusalem by the Damascus Gate. They're big stone walls, tall and very thick, that are old. Well, they're 500 years old. For Jerusalem, that's not really old. Many things there are much older than that. But they are still they're still 500 years old. So I would go in through the gate there, through these big old walls, and walk through the streets where people are selling food, people are selling drinks, people are selling clothing, all sorts of things to buy on every side. Always people moving, carrying things, very busy. This is the part of town where the people who live there live, not just the place where tourists go. So you go ahead and you are in a little narrow street. It's not really even a street. It's too small for a car. It's mostly just people walking there. Sometimes some kind of a small kind of car might be able to go through it. And on every side, there are shops selling food, selling drinks, selling toys, selling clothing, all sorts of things. And most of it above you is covered. There's a cloth over there or something else. So it's almost like you're in a tunnel. You're inside. You barely even see the sun there. And it's all very busy, very interesting. So this is what I find when I go in through the Damascus Gate. Then there are some very interesting places to go in Jerusalem. Now, of course, the most interesting, the most beautiful, the most amazing is up on the hill, the one you see all the pictures of, what we call in English the Dome of the Rock. The building there, the blue one with the gold dome over it. It's not very big. If you go there and see it, you find actually it's not a large building, but it's very beautiful. It's amazing to see. And it is more beautiful when you are close to it than from far away. You can see every part of it is beautifully decorated with colored tiles and wonderful art and old writing. I took many pictures of it when I was there because it's so wonderful. You know, it has 8 sides, if I remember. So you walk around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, I didn't go inside. You can only go inside if you are a Muslim, and I'm not. So I only took pictures outside. Later, a friend of mine who was a Muslim went there and went inside. And after I said, oh, I should have given him my camera. I should have had him take my camera and take pictures inside the Dome of the Rock. But I didn't think of it until after he had already gone. So I didn't have a chance to do that. Up there on the hill, you also have a very nice view over the city. When you look one way, you see the old part of the city with the walls around it and all those small streets and old houses and buildings. On the other side, you see there's a cemetery down below where many people are buried. And then right across from it, there's a big hill. So you go down the hill and then back up this big steep hill on the other side. Today, there's a big hotel there, but it's a wonderful view you have of the whole place when you're there. There were other places I like to go in Jerusalem. I tell people that I am like an old lady. I like to go shopping. Every place I go, I buy things. I buy things for me, things for my friends, things for my family. And there were so many wonderful places in Jerusalem where I could do this. I could buy things made of wood, like furniture, chairs, tables. I could buy the wonderful cloth to put on your table or put on your wall. All of these things to give to people I know to decorate my apartment. So I would visit all of those places over and over. There were so many wonderful things. I always wanted to go there and go shopping when I was there. There's one street that they say is older than the others. If you can tell when you look on the ground, because in this part of Jerusalem, the stones on the street, big flat pieces of stone, are very large. They're the size of a refrigerator. They must be something like 1.5 meters long each. And the historians tell us that those are very old. Those are left from something like 2,000 years ago. The other ones are newer. So if you go up there, you're in the oldest part of the city with the oldest things that still remain. And I like to walk back and forth there. Now, as I said, there are walls all around the old part of the city. I'm sure you've seen the pictures and maybe you've been there. I know that somewhere you can go up on them. You can get a ticket and go up the stairs and you can walk around on top of the walls. I don't know if you can go in a circle all the way around the city, but you can do part of it. But I never did that. I guess I never had the time or I didn't know where to go. But what I did do was run around on the ground just outside the city walls. It took me about 24 minutes. Now, I know how long it takes me to run a kilometer, how long it takes me to run a mile. So if it took me 24 minutes, I know that it was about 2.5 miles, a little more than that. So the old city of Jerusalem is pretty much a square or a rectangle. And it has north, south, east, west. The north-south walls are each about 1/2 mile. And the walls on the east and west side are a little bit more than that. So it's a little longer that way. But there are many hills. And I learned to go the way where I could go down the hills. There's one place where it gets so steep, the hill goes up so fast that I couldn't run up that. I tried and I got too tired and I had to stop and walk. So I learned when you go that way, go the other direction. So you're going downhill for that part. You still have to go up some other hills, but they're not as hard to do. So when I was there, I would go out through the city streets, which were empty early in the morning when I went there, down around one side. I would go out the Jaffa Gate, which is another old gate in the stone walls on the west side of the city. Down to the corner, I would turn east and go along the south wall of the city. That's where it's very steep, and you go down these steep hills. Then you get to the other corner, and you have to go up a little, and that's where there's the cemetery, the graveyard on the east side of the city. All these old tombs. And the first time I ever went to Jerusalem, it was the day when people go and decorate the tombs to honor people in their family who have died. So when I went through there, many, many people were there carrying, I don't know, flowers or something to decorate the graves of the people in their family and honor the people there. So I went along there, and you were just outside the walls of the city there. When you look, you can see there used to be some gates where you could go into the city on that side, but there aren't anymore. They've been closed. Then you come up to the northeast corner and you turn left again. You go along there where you're on a city street. The city walls are on your left-hand side. and different shops and stores and a post office are on the other side. You come down to that same Jaffa Gate where I usually enter. From there, you have to go uphill. It's a hill, but it's not as bad as the other one. So it's better to go up that hill than the first one. Go up that hill, and I huff and puff and get up to the corner and turn one more time. Now I'm on the west side of the city, and I go down along the city walls there, back to the Jaffa Gate where I went in. So there's so many interesting things to see there. As I say, I like to shop, but there are all of these historic sites, old buildings from hundreds of years ago. If you're interested in history the way I am, it's fascinating to see these things. There's an old part of it that was where the Roman government was when the Romans controlled Palestine nearly 2,000 years ago. It was 2,000 years ago. And you can look there and see the old statues and see some of the decorations made of stone on the ground. And you can feel like you're back in the old days there. And you're always walking through these little narrow streets with people and all sorts of things out in the street there. So everywhere you go, things are old, things are historic, things are fascinating for someone like me. And if you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew, you'll say they're also holy, because this is the site where so many of the famous leaders in religion lived, the places where the kings were, the places where the famous prophets lived and spoke. So I never got tired of it. It was always so interesting to go there. And then there are other sites that are outside the old city, because the old city, which I talked about, is only one part of Jerusalem. The whole city of Jerusalem is now much bigger than that. It was like that 2,000 years ago, but today it's a lot bigger. So that's just one area. You can go outside it and see other buildings from history, monuments built by famous people, and interesting churches and mosques and fascinating people. So it was all very interesting. The other thing I do besides shop is take pictures. And I took hundreds and hundreds of pictures. And maybe someday I'll be able to share them with you on video and show you some of the wonderful pictures I took there. The oldest are of things that are more than 2,000 years old. Some of them were built only about 1,000 years ago. As I said, the walls around the city are only about 500 years old. But I'm from America, and walls that are 500 years old are still much older than any walls that we have in America, and much older than most walls or buildings you'll see anywhere in the world. So it was always a fascinating place to go. You never get tired of it. You never run out of things to do, places to go, interesting sights to see. Oh, if you've been there, good. I hope you'll go again. And if you haven't had the chance to go there, I hope you will sometime. And that way you'll be able to explore these things for yourself. Now, I'm sure you'll find all sorts of things that I talked about and a lot more things that I didn't talk about. And you'll find them all very interesting. Let me tell you about one more place before I go. There's a place in the middle of the old city where they used to keep water. In English, we use the term cistern to mean a big tank of water, not like a bottle. It's like a room, like a house. It's that big. It's as if you had something like a swimming pool just to save water so people could drink it later on. Well, there's no water in it today, but because it's big and tall, it has wonderful sound in it. And they tell you, try singing. While you're in there, just start to sing. If you do, you'll find your voice sounds so wonderful, echoing under that high ceiling. And you'll say, I never knew I was such a good singer. But you'll find out when you go to Jerusalem. So that's one more reason to go there. I hope you like it. See you another time. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. I will stop recording now.
So for cooking, they have this thing they made like a big pyramid out of spices with a dome of the rock on the top of it. It's like a little model. This pyramid about almost a meter tall, all made of things like salt and sugar and pepper, and a little statue on top. It's something wonderful that I would look for every time I was there. All right, I'll send you the pictures. So I hope it's good for you and your students.